This is Christian Men Unscripted. We're back. I'm here with John Harney, and Seth Lazon is not here. He's on vacation. We let him have vacation. No, he's not on vacation. He's probably working or something, but he couldn't make it today.
I think it's last I heard he was doing all sorts of actually really cool stuff. Sounds like he was doing some neat stuff involved in baptisms and out at the lake taking it old school, dude, out into a natural body of water. I love that.
Yeah, that lake's filthy sometimes.
Yeah, well, man, why are you trying to diminish such an anointed topic? Right. You know, here he is doing something all cool, and you're like, oh, you getting some algae on you, bro? Funny you should say that. Did you already do the introduction all the way?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I can't remember what I do or what I did.
Okay. I got to point that out. Actually, we're going to jump right into ministry stuff today, right?
Right.
Because we're starting a new thing. We got the new YouTube channel. We've got cameras rolling now.
Yeah, but we haven't put anything up on YouTube because we're not good at it. Like, we got the cameras going today. We got shadows everywhere. We got, whatever. I might have to paint this wall black.
We're going to figure that out. We'll be a work in progress, and that's okay, because that speaks to all of Christianity as to how we're going to do this YouTube channel stuff.
It's just getting started.
And then, obviously, we have to start starving ourselves so that we look skinny, so we look better on camera. Right. I got to start doing that.
Well, I just got this computer blocking me.
Me, man, it's my chubby face, dude. That's what I got to get rid of, my chubby face. Okay, but listen, we're going to start talking about that in a second.
Right.
But you talking about the water and kind of how lake meat is kind of gross just reminded me of about a week ago or so, week and a half, whatever it was. I want to thank you because you came up with me to the Spring Mountain Youth Camp. It's a boys' camp, guys that got in trouble, young guys under 18 that ended up convicted and having to serve some time.
Yeah.
And but it's such a neat place. The camp counselors or whatever, I think they're called, case managers, whatever. Some really great people up there. And but it was funny because we were sharing from the Gospel of John about John the Baptist.
Yeah.
And you talking about, kind of making fun of Seth, baptizing people in Lake Mead. Remember, that's what I was kind of sharing with those kids, is this dude, John the Baptist, he's named that because he was baptizing people in the river in the Jordan River east of Bethany or something to that effect, I think. And so that's kind of what we were sharing. But now that you said it, I hadn't thought about sharing that with the guys. Think about it. He's on the banks of a river. I don't know, is there a bunch of reeds? Are there frogs? Is there algae?
Bacteria of some sort.
Yeah, dude. No, it was probably pretty clean, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if it was. Well, whatever. I don't even know why I thought of it. But the reason why I share that, though, is because you came up there with me, and I thank you so much for doing that. We had an opportunity to share Jesus with these boys, had an opportunity to remind them that they are actually men, right? Mm-hmm. They're out there doing manly stuff, getting in trouble for it. And but that they can represent something bigger than themselves, that they matter, and they matter to the God of the universe who created all things, and they have so much potential that they can be used to protect people, to love family and friends, not just be about their gang or their neighborhood, but actually about like society and about representing the creator of all things in a loving way.
Yeah.
I say that because here we are now. We're trying to get this YouTube stuff going, trying to get the cameras going, trying to kind of open up into a new arena or a new market or whatever you want to call it by adding cameras instead of just the podcast Spotify stuff.
Yep.
And this is kind of what we were talking about, is ministry can get kind of tricky.
It can.
Because it's already kind of hard when you're dealing with people in church, because the biggest problem with being a pastor is the people. Right? You hear teachers say that. Being a teacher, remember some guy said that the other day, being a teacher is so fun except for the students, right?
The parents or students?
Both. And then, but then I could say that about being a pastor. I love teaching the word. I love sharing with people, and I love the interaction. I'm not trying to sound negative, but then sometimes it's the people that make it not as fun.
Yeah, no, it's anything you do in life, right?
Yeah, but with ministry...
When you're in a leadership role as a pastor, as a teacher, people aren't going to like what you do all the time.
No matter what, right?
Yeah. And even this, like, we're going to have people that follow us that might not agree with us or like us, but I'm not here to be judged by them. I'm just here. If you don't like it, you don't have to follow.
No, that's fair.
And right now, nobody follows because we only got 5 on YouTube.
But yeah, we just started. The YouTube page is brand new. But listen... That's what we're getting at, though.
And the videos are very bad.
We'll improve the quality over time. We know that'll happen.
Well, I heard somebody say it's called digital ministry. I like it.
So that's kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit, is how tricky ministry is. It sort of goes with trying to go and talk to those boys. In other words, we had to go where they were to share Jesus.
Right.
With those boys in that camp, we had to go where they were.
It's very far up the mountain.
It is. But when you're out on the streets, you got to go where the people are. Well, guess where most people are nowadays? They're on their phones, their computers. They're on the YouTubes, the Snapchats.
I listen to podcasts on my, not ours all the time, but all kinds, just while I walk the dogs. I haven't walked the dogs in a while because it's hot, but I do in my car. I don't watch podcasts per se on YouTube, but a lot of people do. That's why we're doing it.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what we're talking about is I need to make fun of Alan. I would say I got here.
What?
I got here. You're trying to set the cameras up, and I would say that you had already messed with them for hours, days.
They still look terrible.
And then we sat down, and 30 minutes later, we're still moving the cameras around, and we're like, you know what, dude? We're trying to do ministry. Let's just go. Let's just do this. Yep. And so who cares? However the cameras all work out, it's just how they
I just wanted to make sure we got the Cleveland Browns helmets in there because football season is approaching.
I know, and I'm not even a Browns fan, so I got to sit here and act like I am. People are going to look at this. Maybe we might have, I don't know, Patriot fans or Green Bay fans that are going to watch this and
anybody can
turn
watch
us
or listen.
off. Yep. They're going to turn us off because they're going to see all your Brown stuff.
I got American flag too.
Well, so then they better not turn us off, dude. They better be patriotic about it. So, all right. Anyway, it's tricky. Getting into ministry is tricky because there is spiritual warfare, and spiritual warfare is very real. And if we can see pretty clearly that Satan is using all of this stuff we're talking about, the digital age of stuff, to reach kids and to wreck their lives and to wreck families' lives, then we actually need to jump into that same battlefield to conduct battle for truth. And that's kind of what we're trying to do now. It's just kind of tricky, dude, because we don't know what we're doing. And you really don't know what you're doing with cameras, and I know less. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if they're recording. I don't know if this is going to come out good or not. I'm watching it as we're doing it, and it's flashing. Some are going in, some are going out. But who knows? We'll see.
We'll just see when it's all said and
done.
And
then I don't know how to edit, so I'm going to roll with that and figure that out on the fly. I got somebody to help me. Jerry from our friend's podcast, Real Men Unscripted, is going to help me a couple times until I get the hang of it, because he does their video, that podcast I was on with on their channel, which is great.
All right.
Yep.
So what are you sort of hoping that we're going to get out of this by coming into the YouTube age?
I have no idea. I don't even want to be on YouTube. I don't like being on video. I didn't like doing audio, but I felt like it was something we should do, because I think, like, I listen to a lot of Christian podcasts and YouTube. I watch a lot of that, and some not, like a lot of political stuff I watch too, conservative political stuff. Whether you're conservative or not, it doesn't matter. I'm not judging people because it's political season, but that's all I do is watch it. And, I don't know. I get influenced by stuff I watch on YouTube. I don't make my full, what's the word? I don't make my, I don't base my life on what I see, but it influences what I do. Yeah. Like how I act, how I do things when I watch or listen to podcasts, Christian podcasts, or even political podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but I don't necessarily do what they say, but I like to take it in and go, oh, I like that perspective. That's what I was trying to say. I get perspective from it. Some other perspectives I like and some I don't. I don't have to agree with them, but I'll still watch them. So I'm hoping that people get a certain perspective out of it. I guess that's where I'm going with that. That was a roundabout way of saying I want people to get a perspective that maybe they didn't think about, because you are a pastor. Seth is a pastor. I am not a pastor. And I was thinking about that today. Like, I have a perspective of, when it comes to being a Christian and being in ministry, I want non-pastor men, women, kids to know that I'm not a pastor. So do I get up every morning and read my Bible? No. Do you? Probably, but you have a job to do. But I also feel like, I was thinking about this today, like, am I not a good enough Christian because I don't get up and read my Bible like John or Seth do? I'm like, I feel like I love the Lord. I feel like I follow. I try and obey. I try to live my life as Jesus would want to, and I fail miserably all the time. But, like, because I got up today and instead of opening my Bible, I was working on these cameras, is that wrong of me? Am I not going to go to heaven?
Right.
Because,
of course not, right?
Because I didn't open my Bible. And
right.
I'm going to be honest with you. I go to my church and I love my church. I love your church. I've been to your church. And my church is really on the fact that you got to have a relationship. You got to have a relationship. I agree. But also, don't guilt me into making me feel bad because I'm not as great as some other people are. And that's not me being mad at them. I love the fact that you can get up every morning, have your coffee. That's part of your routine. But I feel guilty because I don't do it. Like, man, they make me feel bad because I don't get up. But I do read my Bible. I might not read it in the morning. I might not read it at night. I might not read it for a day or two. But that doesn't mean I didn't get the word on a podcast. That didn't mean I didn't get the word on a devotional I listened to in the car. And I get frustrated with my church, every church, when they say, you have to do this, you have to do that.
Right.
I'm like, well, does that make me am I not going to go to heaven because I didn't read my Bible for 3 days? That doesn't mean I didn't get the word through a podcast. I get it from when we went up to Spring Mountain Youth Camp. I got it from you. I read the scriptures we were going to do. I got it that day, but I did not get up and read my Bible because we left so darn early.
Right. Exactly. You know what? So it's interesting you're saying all this because, one, of course, I want to be very clear. You end up in heaven by nothing that you do except for believe in Jesus, and you're secure in him. And we call that eternal security. Christ died for you. You're saved. You're sealed. Yeah. God sees you through the eyes of the fact that you've been covered. Propitiation means fully covered. Sins are fully gone because Christ is now your representative, your advocate in all things, right? He was sacrificed for you. So you don't lose your salvation. So, and I know you know that. I'm just,
for the
listening audience as we talk about this, that it's funny, Christians have a tendency within churches, or even if they're not attending a church, to sort of, it's called relative righteousness, a lot of people will say, where they say, well, I'm great. I get in the Bible every single day. And, well, you only read the Bible every once in a while. Well, you need to work on your relationship. Dude, that might be real. That might be true. That's probably a true
I'm not saying it's not true, but I feel judged at times if I tell them I'm not.
And I totally get it. And how funny is this? So, like, yeah, I'm a pastor. I hate it. I don't want to say I hate saying it. I find it odd to say it because it was never my goal in life. God all of a sudden called me to a place, and I'm just trying to obey what God has and allow him to take me on this journey. And as a pastor, I'm trying to take people on a journey with me. I don't want to seem that I am preaching at anyone ever. But it's funny, what you just brought up. Just this about a week or so ago Sunday, I'm still going through this letter of James. It's taken us for quite a while. The people might be like, are we ever going to get out of this thing?
Right.
But we just talked about, and I'm being convicted by it, because in James, like 126 and 127, he talks about you need to control your tongue, bridle your tongue, and he kind of describes like controlling a horse, right, a powerful animal. And later on in James chapter 3, he's going to talk about how the tongue, how the words we say can be so damaging. Mm-hmm. But then he goes on to say, if you want to talk about real religion, if you think you're all that, real religion is taking care of widows and orphans. So he goes into that, and in other words, he's going to start very shortly, even in chapter 2, he's going to talk about respecting people, not showing discrimination or favoritism or judging a book by its cover kind of stuff. Yeah. And really genuine Christianity, what he says is, if you want to know what Christianity looks like, it means taking care of people who can't take care of themselves, being otherly centered. And then he ends that chapter 1 with a lesson in conduct. And what he says is, don't let yourself be stained by the world. And that's that thought, like we're in the world, but we're not of the world. If you believe in Jesus, you actually have a future home in eternity with Christ, and you actually are an heir to the kingdom. The God, the creator of all things, loves you, and you're now called to represent him, right? Going back to your point, though, that looks different for every person because we're all in a different journey. We're all at different stages. And so when you hear someone like yourself and any listener that thinks, I go to church, but I don't go all the time, of course you should plug in. Of course try to get there. You matter to the people in that church even. Your portion just as a member there or a listener there matters. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not trying to discourage you to go to church.
And I'm not trying to discourage people from reading their Bible because I love reading my Bible.
Right.
But there's like, I'll go 2 or 3 days because of circumstances or laziness.
Yeah.
But like I said, I just finished Acts and I read that, and now I'm in Romans and I read it. Yeah. But I am not consistent, and sometimes I'll go to a church or I'll go to somewhere and they're like, well, you have to be consistent. You have to make a routine, and I get it. Yeah. But I also feel like sometimes I'm like, you people get mad at me when I tell them this.
And so that's I took a long way around getting to my point on James 1:27.
You sure did.
I did. But I had to, what I was sharing at even at
just
church.
Just like church, James, you're only in chapter 1. So.
Yeah, and I'll be there for a long time. But the point was this: conduct is the 10 Commandments. Yes, the Bible is very clear on certain things. Yes, even morality. If you aren't even a believer in Jesus, it's wrong to kill a baby, to rape a person, whatever, right? Yeah. Because God has implanted those rights and wrongs within us, right? There's an apologetic argument. But now the balance is, within Christianity, just because your conduct doesn't match my conduct, just because your Christianity doesn't look like what I think your Christianity should look like, doesn't mean that I should judge you in that way. There's a balance. If you're way off, I should confront you.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, someone's saying, well, wait, you don't read the Bible you don't do a 20-minute devotional every single day and try to read the Bible in a year every single year? Mm-hmm. Wow, what kind of Christian are you? Kind of the same as people was it you who told me that you met someone who said they walked into a church and if the pastor's not wearing a suit and tie, they walked right out?
I think it was Dom.
Yeah, someone told me
it was
that.
on our podcast.
I've heard that before, but I mean recently. I feel like it was very recently. Maybe at the men's, you came to a men's breakfast or. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I've heard people have literally said that. Oh, I know someone who they told me if they walk into a church and the pastor's not wearing a suit and tie, they walk right out. Dude, what does that have to do with the message? Jesus wasn't wearing a suit and tie, and I'm not trying to be rude. By the way, you can be all things to all men and throw on a suit, and if that's going to minister to those people, that's fine.
Yeah.
But kind of to your point, if you feel like people are like, "Whoa, you're not reading your Bible every day," or you're not doing how I do Christianity, then you're probably not squared away.
Right.
And now there's where you're off, right? Yeah. There's where the Christian church actually can put some people out or put them off from wanting to come back to church.
Yeah, and then going back to why we started the ministry, I want people to understand, like, you don't have to be the perfect person. You just got to work at it. Not be a perfect person, but just work on your relationship, which I do every day.
Yeah.
But I'm just a normal man. Like, I like to go out and have a beer.
Right.
I like to go watch football. I even curse sometimes, believe it or not.
We're all a work in progress on that kind of stuff, right?
But I'm also turning into a prude, man, because I was watching Joe Rogan, and I love Joe Rogan's comedy, but I was like, man, this is a lot of cursing and I was like, I don't know if I can handle this anymore. I was like, what's wrong with me, man? I'm like an old, get off my lawn type person.
Dude, you know what, though? That again, I'm going to keep harping on the singular topic. When in James 1:27, when he says, don't let yourself be stained by the world.
Yes.
It's an interesting thought, because that's exactly what he is pointing out, is that we live in this world, but we're not of this world. And so how interesting in your own spiritual growth that all of a sudden you have this sense of like, this probably isn't great. Yeah. This could potentially be staining me.
Yeah.
You know, that's actually just speaks to spiritual growth. But it is funny. You said I'm turning into a prude.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel the same way. Like, I don't want people, I can't stand half the crap that's on TV. I can't stand half the crap I'm listening to or whatever, music and everything else. And I'm like, oh man, like I'm turning into that weird old guy.
Yeah.
But I got to give myself some grace and be like, no, I think God's doing a work in my heart, and I'm realizing this stuff isn't helping me to grow.
Yep. And Jerry came over, is trying to help me with this editing. He's like, what do you listen to when you go to the gym? I'm like, oh, you don't want to know, man. He's like, I'm going to send you a Christian rap playlist, because I do like listening like old school rap.
Yeah,
Not new, but old. But even then was pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
But not like Run DMC and LL Cool J.
No, some of those are actually
But there's
still
some other
good.
ones that are pretty bad.
Real bad. I don't even want to name some. The one when you were a kid and you had to have some adult buy it for you because of explicit lyrics kind of guys.
Yeah. I had to move my chair over.
Nah.
Edit that out. I don't know how to edit, though.
No, just let it play.
If this is not on YouTube, guys, it's because I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah, it's fine. Now, here's the other thing, though, real fast. Now that we're on YouTube, I've listened to, like, talk show hosts, morning radio hosts, over the years. All of us probably have.
Yeah.
And then when I've either met them in person or suddenly they were on audio or on video as well, I was like, oh, they look nothing like what I expected, dude.
I don't know. I mean, people see our Instagrams. They probably know what we look like.
If they get on there. I mean, we have more listeners than we have Instagram followers. But
yeah, it's weird. I was looking at, on numbers, I don't know them too well, but on Spotify and Apple, we have a couple hundred each, and we have a couple hundred on that, but we also get a lot of downloads a month that people just don't subscribe. So if you're listening, just subscribe for us, please.
Like and subscribe, whatever that means. Yeah, but my point is this, though. Even whether it's $1,000 a month or whatever we have, who cares? When they finally do jump on here, or if they are the ones who only listen, because I'm not on social media, full disclosure, right? So I don't even know what pictures you guys post, or my daughter sometimes will post.
We show you.
Okay, yeah. If you guys show me the terrible ones, and then I'm like, oh, that's awful, dude, awful. Or when we have, like, there was a big head one. So, okay, I do know because...
Yeah, so who put that one up there?
Seth.
Oh, did he?
He had to. Seth,
he did one this morning.
You're a real jerk to us with our giant heads.
Yeah, but then he puts one up this morning. I think it was him doing push-ups. I'm like, why do you do yourself working out and put big heads of us?
Yeah, he's him looking all good doing push-ups and us with big heads. Well, what's so funny is my little sister... We're going off on a tangent for a second. Yeah. My little sister hits up my wife, and she's like, my wife, I don't know, whatever. Is that, like, real? Like, holy cow, did they... And my wife is like, let me show you. Your little sister literally just asked if this is really how big your heads look compared to your body. And I'm like, is she like completely blind? Like that, my head in that picture is as big as my body. Like I know I have a kind of a big head, I guess, but I haven't been called big head in the past. But it's like, holy cow, she's got to realize that's fake, dude. That's crazy. Yeah. So anyway, social media stuff. My point is, if you're not looking at social media, if you're not on the YouTube, and you're one of those who just listens, and then all of a sudden you watch us. you might be like kind of off put. Might be like, oh, I was really hoping they'd be way better looking, more hair, cooler looking beards, bigger arms. I don't know.
I got a compliment on my beard at the gym today.
Did you?
I did. And there's a guy I used to play basketball with when we were in our 20s. And he's like, what's up, old man? I'm like, hey, thanks. He was old too, so whatever. Yeah. He goes, man, that beard looks really good. I'm like, hey, thank you.
Yeah.
And he might have been lying.
No, dude, it looks nice. Yeah, it's real nice.
I was very impressed.
Yeah, I'm not trying to blow you up, but I mean, your beard looks real nice, dude.
Yeah, well, you were my influence on that because you started first.
Except for I shave mine all the time now. Like, I keep it, but I keep it short. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to grow it long.
Big. Yeah, you're going big, dude. You're going big on it. It's good. I like it.
But I keep trimming it and let it grow.
Yeah.
Going Duck Dynasty on it.
So let's get back on this, though. Let's talk
digital
about
ministry.
This. Digital ministry, dude.
Why?
So
Why do you want to do it, John?
Jump into it. Well, I'm trying to do this. I think we're genuinely trying to do exactly the same reason why we go up to the mountain, why we try to go and talk to people, why we try to share Jesus when we're around other people, and that is because we're called to share truth, we're called to live out truth, and we're called to kind of go where the war is. And if there is one place we can all agree, spiritual warfare is appearing to be on the Christians appear to be on the losing side of it is digital. It's all the stuff digital, dude. And so we are trying to we're trying to expand our tiny, tiny little footprint. We're trying to expand it into more digital platforms.
Right.
But it is tricky and it is hilarious because, like I said, it took you forever just to play with these cameras. So it's going to be a work in progress.
But I think the goal of this is not for just you and I and Seth to be talking. It's to have guests that can influence people.
Yeah.
More influential guests, perhaps. More, and that's not for us to get our ratings or anything up. It's just to have people that get out there and spread the word and just help people, because I was watching the news before you came over and I'm like, what is going on? It's like war in the Middle East is breaking out. Our barracks in Iraq were bombed. I'm like, man, we're on the verge of World War III, and we just got to be ready, I guess, because it shouldn't make you nervous.
Isn't that interesting? Preparedness is one thing, and there are people who are constantly preparing, and they're the preppers and all that, and I'm not opposed to those guys.
Nope.
But I think from our platform, we're trying to point out that there are going to be wars and rumors of wars until Jesus' second coming, until he returns. And so we can actually be confident and bold, knowing that Christ has us, that our Lord loves us, and that he is not surprised by anything. He is sovereign and allows all things. And so we want to try to continue to expand into digital platform, continue to allow a space for other, like you said, guests who have even another platform for whatever their message is, as long as their message lines up with truth and edifies and builds people up. We've tried to avoid too much political stuff, too much. Now we're kind of, we're talking prepper stuff or world event stuff. Not just because we want to kind of stay light, but because there's enough of that out there, and there are so many people out there that actually are really good at it. And by the way, check them out. Good.
That's the ones who influence me.
Yes, and so those guys are awesome. The guys and gals out there doing that type of stuff, and even the teaching ministries are doing a phenomenal job. And I think we're just trying to get one more little foothold, into the digital stuff, to where we can be sharing Jesus and reminding people, and especially, of course, we started out primarily men, and that's still our bigger listenership. But the reality is men, women, couples, families, that
teenagers,
they need to know. I think they need to know that exactly as you already put it. Like, we're just real. Like, man, I mess up. I don't read my Bible every day. That kind of stuff. And you're right. I'm not going to kind of say that, because even before I became a pastor, I think that's where God was already leading me, not necessarily to be a pastor, but I just had this hunger for the Word of God, and so I almost never miss time in the Word.
Right, and I think that's what I was trying to get at. It's like, I'm not perfect, but if you get that relationship, you want to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do it, and when I don't do it, I feel bad. But then when I go to like a church meeting or something, or like a men's group or something, they're like, you got to do this and you got to do that. And me, in my own flesh, is like, how dare you tell me what to do?
Funny, right? We're kind of naturally rebellious, dude.
And it's a me thing. I know it's not. I appreciate what they're telling me to do, because I need it.
Yeah.
But in my flesh, I'm like, how dare you tell me that I have to do this every day? I do not. I still love the Lord. I can do what I want. And I'm not going to give you 10%. And then I'm like, wait, but I do love giving to my church, because I know what they do with it. So I love doing that. And then I look at my finances. They're like, you got to give this and you got to do that. And it's funny, we were talking about it, and I know this is kind of off topic, but we were talking about the giving and when I invite people to church, and it's like, every time I invite them, it's always the sermon on giving, tithing.
Yeah.
And they're like, I always want money. I'm like, man, I hear this sermon like twice a year, and you guys just come on that.
Right.
And I think I do need to tithe. I love Like I try to give as much as I can because I know what they do with it. My daughter and I have been serving with their ministries where they use that money. I serve in the Hope Student Ministries at my church where I know they use that money. So I love giving my money. And people were like, well, why? My mother-in-law is like that. She's so mad at the church because she says all they do is ask for money. I'm like, but that's how they do. That's how they minister. That's how they do missions. That's how they help people. That's how they get the word out to the Lord. And pastors have to be paid.
Right.
They have to eat.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that you're a pastor of a church, and I know you don't make much.
But I'm blessed because I have a retirement.
You're blessed.
Yes, 100%. So we're super blessed by that, and that's
And Seth the same way. I know.
Oh.
Yeah. We have to buy him food sometime. No, I'm just kidding.
We should. Sorry, Seth. We probably should.
Yeah.
No, he does okay. But you're exactly right.
Yeah.
It is funny though that Jesus himself talked about giving and tithing, and you said yourself you just finished the book of Acts, which is basically the history of the church, where literally by I think Acts 2 they're talking about everyone kind of contributed to the same thing. They all brought their food and they pooled resources, because two things on this one. First of all, where your treasure is, there's your heart. What do you consider treasure? There's your heart. And so if money is your treasure, then your heart, your thinking goes toward trying to save and earn money.
But I'm also there with that as well.
But if you really treasure the Word of God, and you said it though, by the way, I want to ask you, I'm going to go back to that in a second, but you even said it, like if you're not in the Word of God, you miss it or feel bad.
Yeah.
Because you actually have a heart to want to know the treasures of the Word of God, and once that becomes your motive and your motivation to grow and to know God, then all of a sudden money doesn't mean anything. You actually learn like you're just a steward, like it was always God's first anyways. God's. So then you're not as I don't know what you would call it, where you're really squeezing,
you're gripping
hard.
Tight to it. You're holding tight to what you have.
You'll learn to let that go, and then you can start to see. And I've heard Pastor Chip Ingram share that a lot too, where look where your money goes, and you'll have an idea of where your heart goes. Right, that kind of stuff. Yeah. If you just do your own budget, you'll realize if you're not giving the first of and all that stuff.
Well, a lot of it goes to this cameras and lights.
Yeah, you keep dumping. Well, see, you're dumping it into ministry, dude. This is all about trying to get into ministry.
Yeah.
But okay, let me go back to that. So. You're right. It's frustrating when someone comes to visit a church and a preacher's talking about money and stuff. But again, Jesus talked about
that's
it quite
part
a
of
bit.
it.
It's part of it.
I was thinking before you go on, I was thinking about this morning and I didn't read, but I'm going to actually at night. My wife and I have started reading at night, and I read like my Bible and then I read a book. But I'm trying to educate myself,
Yeah.
But you're a pastor, you would know the verse, or is it a parable or is it not a parable where he's like, Lord, I want to follow you? And it was a rich man. He's like, well, you just got to give up everything and then come. He's like, oh, can't do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I catch myself being that person, like, oh, I can't do that because of this.
Yeah.
And then I catch myself going, well, it's not mine.
Right.
So, I'm caught in the world, I guess, at times. And that's
hard,
kind of why I wanted to, that's back to, again, why I want to start this, because I know a lot of people are there. A lot of people are like, well, how do I pay my bills? If you want 10%, like, how do I get my kids to college? How do I do this? And they say God will work. And I'm like, okay, I'll trust in you. I'll give you what I can, and I'll tithe my time, tithe my money, tithe what I can to help other people understand that I'm the same as you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you are too, because you have kids in college as well, and you're a pastor,
dude.
And you still got to put your kids through college.
Look, if I didn't have, we weren't blessed with the retirement we have, obviously I couldn't afford to be a pastor, right?
Right.
The that story real fast it's interesting that you pointed that story out, because really, once again, that story was about that guy's heart, the rich young guy that he's like, hey, I've kept the law, I've done all these amazing things, and then Jesus is like, oh yeah, cool, one more thing, just get rid of all your wealth or whatever. That's a hard issue, right? It doesn't mean that every person has to not have money or riches or, the demise of every single person. Some people can be super blessed and use that to glorify God, to expand the kingdom, to magnify great things of God.
Yeah.
It's just in that particular guy's heart. He realized, his security, he does all this stuff, but really his security was ultimately, he was able to do those things because he was secure in his money, kind of a thing, instead of he did those things and could care less about money. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that was the heart issue right there. That doesn't apply to every single person. The heart issue does, though, right? Yeah. What is your idol? What are you looking at? What do you care about? Which we've talked about this several times. Sometimes our own families, many times, probably more often than not, we put our family or our kids before our relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
Because it's so tangible to us and it's so important to us. not realizing that we really need to know that they're God's children. Seth shared that. You and I talked about it. Seth did such a great job of sharing that months ago, that they're God's kids and that he loves them more than we do.
Yeah. So,
but you can have the same argument for money as with your family or anything else you put between your relationship with Jesus, and then living that out for the rest of the people to know about it. Not in a showy way, to just be giving and loving and expressing.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you real fast. We're probably already getting to where we'll be done in the next few minutes or whatever, but you said earlier, okay, you don't read the Bible every day, but if you go several days or whatever, that you feel bad. What do you mean by that? I kind of want to ask you, what are your thoughts on that?
Not that I feel bad. I think that's the wrong word. I don't feel bad, like guilty. I feel like, man, I start giving into the world. I haven't read my Bible. Now I'm getting angry again. Now I'm getting frustrated with things. Whereas when I open that Bible and that, the words come alive, and I go, oh, this is what I want to do. This is how I should be.
Yeah.
And if you start missing 3, 4, 5 weeks, then I can get greedy, not want to get to the church, not want to go to church. I'm like, we don't need to go this week. Let's go watch football. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm guilty, but the world comes at you, and I start getting into it. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm mad at this. Oh, how dare this, and so I don't know if it's guilty. It's I start conforming to the world more as I get out of the word.
I figured that's what you meant. I just wanted you to clarify out as well.
Yeah.
And so you went down the road I thought you might, right? Okay. But as you're saying it, think about it. It holds true. If this is a person, if you believed in Jesus, but you don't ever go to church, you don't ever care to get into the Bible, but you're like, oh, I have a special relationship. Me and God, we got our thing. A lot of people say that. And I'm not diminishing that each individual has a relationship, and if you really have believed in Jesus, I'm not saying that that's not the truth. However, just like you said, when you go days, weeks without feeding on the Word of God, I feel the same way, for one, is what I want to share with you. Yeah. But I also kind of equate it to, if I go weeks and weeks and weeks without going to the gym, it becomes easier to not go to the gym, to not be in that habit.
Right.
And I kind of get less and less in shape, more and more lethargic.
So you haven't been in a while then?
That's true.
I'm just kidding.
Exactly. But I mean, then the same thing with food. I love to eat like garbage, dude. I'm telling you, I'm like a fast food junkie. I'm a bar food junkie. Dude, if I could just eat like that, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it would be so amazing. But just missing out on the Bible and on the Word of God and on community of believers, how I start to feel bad. Same way as you start to feel bad, you recognize something's off. It's the same thing if I do the opposite. I feed into the garbage. I feed into the bad food, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
I get where I just feel worse and worse. And over time, you're like, bro, I need a salad, dude. Yeah. I need to fast for a day. I need to drink nothing but water and eat nothing but salad. And I think spiritually, it kind of happens the same thing.
So, you're right. Thanks for getting me around to that point. My words are not great sometimes.
Me go to school for me to learn. Me no words.
Went to Valley High School,
you're
Las
good,
Vegas.
dude. Come on. No, I knew exactly. I just wanted to go back on that because
that goes back to Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to the world, but transformed by the renewing of your mind. I think that's one of my verses that I can memorize mostly because I have a hard time. Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's where I go. And I talked to a pastor at my church, and I told him, I'm in a bad spot, and I have been reading my Bible, but coming out of it, I think, I didn't want to talk to people. I think we talked about it on podcast. I don't want to see anybody. I can talk to you because we've known each other so long, but people that I've known for a couple of years at church, I'm like, if I see them, I'm like, oh, I got to go the other way because I just don't feel like engaging in conversation right now because I'm angry at things or this and that. And I'm coming out of it, obviously, and that's because I read Acts. And that's why I like Acts and Romans and a lot of the stuff that Paul wrote because I can relate to him as the guy was...
Full clarification. Luke wrote Acts. I know you.
Oh, okay, but
I know
about
you know
Paul.
that. But
that's about
that,
But it's about Paul's transformation.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
That's what I mean. Because that's how you learn that Paul was transformed on the road to Damascus, right?
Yes, for sure.
And he went blind, scales on his eyes, and he's a person like me who was when I was younger, I believed in God, but I always thought Christians were get out of here with this stuff, man.
Yeah, right.
And that's kind of how Paul was but worse, obviously. Yeah. And then he wrote Romans, right?
Yeah.
And the other one that I like is he's like, why do I do the things that I don't want to do, but the things I want to do, I do not do.
Dude,
and that's
struggle.
Me.
Yes.
And I think I brought this up on the podcast. So I'm in Romans now. So yes, thank you for clarifying. My words are not great. But that's why you're a pastor, and that's why I
know where you're going.
No, I know.
I actually knew where you're going. I'm just doing that for the benefit of the listening audience.
But I'm not a pastor. They are. They better know this. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, my wife actually says, babe, you got to quit saying that because I'm always like, I don't want to be a pastor. And she's like, those people are the people at the church are going to get a complex. And I'm like, I I don't mean it in that way. I love teaching. I love sharing.
Right. But you said that this week. Sundays are you do it for free. It's the in between. That's like anything, though.
I think that's with anything, right? And there's a lot of times where I really do love it, But anyway, the point of all of this is, yes, getting into the Word, spending time in it. And then here we are. We're trying to expand the platform to get more and more into a digital space, like the video, the YouTube stuff. We're just reminding you, if you're a listener to this or a watcher now on YouTube.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
We don't know.
I can see the video. It looks okay, but
all right. Well, if it's on, it's on. But the point is this, man, is that I think, especially doing this podcast, are trying to share that we're genuine, we're real, we mess up, we screw up all the time. We want people to know that God is real, that Christ loves them, that we want to actually step into the battle space of the digital stuff to share this, but also be relatable. Because, dude, you brought up Paul, and he's like, of the sinners, man, I'm the winner. Like, I'm the worst. Yeah. And I, more often than not, kind of identify with the worst ones. Even as a pastor, I will all of a sudden blow it, and I'm like, dude, I'm supposed to be a pastor. Yeah. Like, I have to remind myself, because I have to be a better example in everything. Yeah. Patience, whatever.
But I think that's part of the reason for the podcast. As a pastor, as Seth, although he doesn't mess up a lot, but we do.
He's a better example.
He's a better example. And that's why we have him on, because he's the good example.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're just human beings, man. And I think sometimes we go to these churches and mega churches and we see these pastors fall. We see it on the news.
Oh, my favorite pastors ever. And by the way, I still respect them wholeheartedly and love them and recognize that they're human. But boy, does
But we put them on a pedestal. We shouldn't. They're just human. We're just human beings, and we're trying to make it in the world. So I think that's kind of why we wanted to do this.
Yeah, just to make sure.
Anything else we want to add to this?
No, I guess we could probably just wrap it up. We just want to share that this is tricky for us. Bear with us. Be patient. We are in a transition. Not on Spotify and podcasts and all that stuff. That'll be normal. That'll still be good to go. Yeah. So basically, everyone's still listening. We should be good, but we are going to try this new YouTube page.
But go to YouTube. Check us out, Christian Men Unscripted on YouTube. Find it. I don't know how to.
I don't know how any of that works.
I don't even know if I'm subscribed to it.
Dude, I don't know how any of that stuff works, but hey, listen, for real, God bless you guys. We really do miss Seth. We miss Seth.
I could try and edit that out. I don't know if I can.
No, it's fine, dude. Who cares? We'll hopefully have him back here next week and go from there, man.
Or 2 weeks. I don't know. All right. Bye.